I want to be very specific when it comes to this video, mostly because of ship discourse and other things along those lines. This video is purely being made for information on a character and hopes to be as accurate as possible, considering the amount of misinformation being spread about this topic. I hate the fact that it's being made to be something controversial when it truly isn't. I feel like it's more of an overreaction than anything, and I wanted to debunk all of this misinformation and to get straight to the point. I will be talking about other people's videos on this topic, though of course I want to discourage any form of harassment towards these creators, as they truly haven't done anything wrong and it could be just not having a lot of research. Now that we are finished with that segment, here are some of the things that I need to have listed, just in case.
I forgot to mention in the recording, but if you have any issues with listening to my vocal audio, it is not your fault, as my vocal cords aren't well developed due to years of selective mutism and having a neurodivergent disorder. I also like hiding my voice using voice changing tools due to personal reasons. If this decreases the quality and you find it genuinely annoying, I completely understand.
As I stated before, Zim's age has been in a lot of controversy and has also risen up a lot of different questions. Though of course these controversies I'm going to completely ignore as they aren't relevant, because they aren't canon, and considering how the creator feels about them, they never will be. We'll be doing a deep dive with only canon material, so this of course includes any relevant writing. On that list we have the comics, of course the movie, and also parts of the series. That also includes parts of the series that have been taken out due to cancellation. Now with that out of the way, let's start with numbers. Basically a close enough estimate as to how old Zim could be in years. Something the fandom has complained as complicated, though it's actually really simple. This is because we have forms of dialogue with numbers in them that could hint to a possible age range. And to find those numbers, we will be starting with The Trial. The Trial was an episode that never got out due to cancellation, but was read by the cast members. Within that script, we are given not only a number, but a bit of information about Zim's background. To have things straightforward and more accurate, I will be using a video made by Invader Zim Lost and Found, which is basically a map animated by multiple people.
Boring! 10 years we're still in this education plug! When do we get to see the planet's surface?
So, 10 years. Not only that, but Zim is apparently in school at this time, and it is also represented in the past, which means he has graduated from then. Though let's not linger on that detail for too long, as we do have another clip. To further insinuate that Zim is out of school and has graduated, I will be putting this clip from the episode Nano Zim.
I've been flying ships since before you were born, sad little Earth monkey!
Zim directly states that he's been flying ships before Dave was born, meaning that he's probably not 12 years old. Putting in consideration that he probably wasn't doing training till after the education program. And why I say that is because of this next clip in the episode
Tag the hideous new girl.
It was 50 years ago, on the Urkin military training planet Devastus.
Tab states that 50 years ago she was in training for multiple years, giving us a rough estimate that Zim could be older than 50 years old. Now this is the main reason why people think Zim is a child, specifically because of the disguise he primarily uses. Since he disguises himself as an elementary schooler, people automatically assume that makes him a child, which I consider far-fetched and a little hypocritical, considering Zim has multiple disguises, and a lot of these are adult disguises. That point in of itself would be irrelevant because of that fact. This question is something that has been asked before, and I kind of want to get down on. Mostly because I think this is probably very obvious, and I feel like most people already know this if they have a concept of biology. Within those terms, it's typically noted that all living beings are connected in some way, one way or another, sometimes by certain parts of the skeleton or just the organs, though of course that doesn't apply for all. Though one thing that we have to take note of is the fact that not every living being has the same type of anatomy, especially if we're considering that Zim is from another planet and is an alien, making him an entirely different species from humans. Just because two species have certain similarities doesn't mean they're going to be completely the same. And to really put that in here, I'm going to be showing a few images of the differences in anatomies between Urkins and humans in the show and just some clips. Most of this comes directly from Dark Harvest.
Inferior human organs! Oh, my squeedly spooch!
Squeedly spooch? Did you hear that, Gaz? That's no human organ. Humans don't have squeedly spooches.
Stinky friends!
In order to fully explain this, I want to put in a little bit of a simile within this, as there are another alien species within the show that look almost identical to humans, specifically babies, and this comes from the episode, ironically, Plague of Babies.
Nugums! I should have known.
Don't call me by that name. It is demeaning to a leader of the proud and fierce race of the Naga to be dubbed Nugums.
What should I call you then?
Snooky! Gok Space Sergeant Snooky!
I knew it! Earth babies come from space!
No! Our people look exactly like human babies, but we didn't know that when we landed here 7 years ago.
In hindsight, they have a similar agenda to Zims with a similar story, having to disguise as a younger human being. I also feel like a lot of the points to back this up are kind of ridiculous, such as Zim's height or his stature, because short people do exist, and I don't think a species that went through 2 different leaders would be all children, with only tall people being the exception. Though before we move on from this segment, there's somebody that I have to debunk. This video was made by Hyrule Urk, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly. If not, please do tell me in the comments. I won't be going into the topic of the video specifically because I said I wasn't going to, though they do have their own age segment in the video that I want to debunk because it's very incorrect and there's information within canon media to debunk that as well.
And while Jonah did say Zim was older than any human alive, he could mean Zim is old in human years. To explain this better, we need to go look at the Zelda series. In The Legend of Zelda, there are a race of fish people called the Zora, who live for an extremely long time and age incredibly slow. If you were to look up how old Mipha is from Breath of the Wild, you usually see the search result of her being around 50 years old. However, you are only learning about how old Mipha is in human years, how old she is to us. In reality, since she is a Zora, to her kind, she is in her late teens, 17 to 18, since that was Zelda's age before the calamity struck. So, it might be a similar case with the Urkins, a race of aliens who take centuries to age.
Okay, so this is just advice to anyone who wants to make a video on a specific character, especially if it's about canon information like their age, height, etc. Never take information from another piece of media and tie it to the one that you're currently talking about. This is because these are very 2 different pieces of media. Not all characters are written the same, not every species is going to follow the same guidelines. Not just because it's in a whole nother world, but also because they are separate creators and their works will never match up, making these type of takes, unless they're theories, irrelevant. As to why they are incorrect, we have a panel from an Invader Zim comic during the Zimvoid saga, specifically in issue 47. I will be displaying clips voice acted by Broadway Man 23, so you should probably go visit his video, along with any of the other creators I have mentioned if you want to do that.
The Elder was one of the very first Zims to arrive here in the Void. You survived from that time.
Yes, the beginning time. But I remember it like it was only yesterday, and not 6 months ago like it actually was.
You grew a beard after 6 months?
With this information, it's very likely that Urkins actually age faster, not slower. Now this next section is going to focus on Zim's relationship with the Talus, specifically because that is the only one that I know of this nature, and that is being talked by the fanbase. This assumption is made when putting 2 and 2 together, which is Zim's relationship with the Talus and Dib's relationship with his father. People assume because it's a parental relationship that automatically makes Zim a child, stating that this type of bond is immature, which is a horrible misunderstanding of this type of relationship. You can have a parental figure of any kind at any age, and these type of relationships form based off of mental struggles, not because of someone's maturity. And the reason I can say that about Zim's character is because of the clip I'll be showing in the episode Parent Teacher Night.
I bet he doesn't even know what parents are.
Of course I do.
Welcome to life, Urkin child. Report for duty.
I love you, Cold and feeling robot arm.
From this clip in particular, we can see that Zim has been wanting some form of parental involvement since he was born. But in this instance, you can still call your son your baby, but you can still acknowledge that he's old enough to drink. Now for the final segment, we have an answer for this specific question from Jonan Vasquez, the creator of Invader Zim. This is an interview uploaded by Gallery Nucleus.
Random question. From an Urkin perspective, is Zim supposed to be an adult or a child?
Zim was always an adult. He's. You remember Dennis the Menace?
Yeah.
It was like a little boy, and his nemesis was this old man. You know, I'm no Dennis the Menace fan, but I always thought that was funny. It was yeah, we never really like explicitly stated it in the show. Never felt like we had to, but yeah, Zim is an alien who lived an entire life. Like he's like a grown man who's come down and he fights children. Like that's how dumb he is. You know? That's how just stupid he is. He gets embroiled with this little child's, this child rivalry. But yeah, that's them.
Okay.
And that about sums it up. Honestly, the whole point of this video was to just have fun and find some information about a character that I genuinely enjoy, with something that I despise, misinformation. I hate the fact that this has to be based off of certain discourse, and these disagreements have to be had about this type of discourse because it's very prominent within the fandom. Though even it can be a bit ridiculous at times, and honestly, it can blur the lines between what's considered canon and what isn't. Which is why making this video was a little bit difficult, as people will find anything just to come to a certain conclusion that meets their narrative. A lot of it being untrue, and overall just having nothing that can back it up. Though we can all agree that it isn't canon, and that it never will be, because those aren't the creator's intentions, and they haven't been. So I hope that you enjoyed my little mini analysis, and I probably won't make something like this in the future, mostly because it took so long.